Hey, good day, everybody. Um, Apparently, I'm going to be presenting today on unit testing. So we're going to do the first thing we're going to do is actually create a project, and we're going to actually create a class library project. So while I'm creating, what I'm going to do, I'm also going to add a new testing project and then reference the class library that we just created from that test project. And you can see the test in the left nav, and I'll choose I'll choose unit test project. So a convention we normally go with is the name of the project dot test. That's useful, one, to identify the project, as well as when we have automated builds, we can actually have the build server run automated tests based on the project name. So as part of our build process, we can have a test run. So again, what I'm going to do, just going to add a reference to the class library. Great. And I'm going to add a new unit test. And I'm going to say that I hate this template, and I'm going to choose the next one. So let me just delete that. Okay, great. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just define the problem. So the problem is we want to test to see if a particular string is a palindrome, and a palindrome is that the word is the same going forward as if backward. Um, so I'm just gonna define a palindrome that I know. So if anybody could chime in and say any palindrome they know, that'd be cool. So this is the only one I know.
Level
I didn't hear you.
level.
Rivka.
Okay.
That's about all.
I'm just gonna put them in there. Anything else? Somebody said something. Keisha said something. Everybody in the chat, can I hear?
Level by level.
Level.
Yeah, level.
Radar.
Okay. I think when dyslexia just come up there a little bit. All right. That's enough for now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create a class to hold our code, and I'm gonna create it in the Power class library. Just remember, I don't spell. So if it's spelled wrong, tough. Okay. So I guess we could start off with what is TDD? I guess I'm gonna look for audience participation. So anybody could just chime in and say what they know about TDD.
Test-driven development.
That's nice, but more than that, it's good, Nikhil. I appreciate it. But anything more?
It's like you write a test based on a condition, see it fail, and then you write the code to make it pass.
Yeah, Kichi, that's kind of exactly it. So what TDD is test-driven development, and it's actually a style of writing code. So it's not just a testing thing. It's actually a style of the way you design your code. And yes, it starts with you having your requirements defined as tests, and after the requirement is defined and the test written, then you actually go to implement the code to make the test pass, basically. So the first test or requirement would simply be to check to see um, if this word is actually a palindrome, and have a particular way that um, we set up unit tests, and which is the AAA. So Keisha would have mentioned that in her talk. So we do arrange, we act, and we assert. Um, so arranging is essentially we get all the data that we need to run this test, all the requirements. So if we have to create a new object, does the object take parameters that we need to set up other things to get the test started? Act is, well, we actually call the method on the test um, and actually do an action to produce some result. And assert is where we would say, well, determine whether this result of our action is valid or not. So if we would start with our range, we can say that our expected result is true. So we expect that the word pal is a palindrome. Then we would our act. Well, let me set up the class.
That'd be the word wow.
Yeah, yeah. So me acting would be calling a method on the class palindrome and call it pal. I'll say test, and it accepts a string. So as you know, they actually kind of driving the design of the actual object from the test, and obviously with the tools in Visual Studio, we can actually create objects and create methods. As you can see, it just throws a default not implemented exception. So just using the tools to help move us along quickly. And then my assertion is that it is in fact a palindrome. So so the TDD will have you sorry, I don't need this expected because we're using the assert that is true function. So yeah, the TDD world would have you essentially build this and run it, and a user term called, let's get that down, red green refactor. Red. So essentially they want you to write a test that fails and then write code to make it pass. It's a bit much, but it has some value in that, you know, you're ensuring that you're not writing tests that always pass. So if we run this right now, we should fail. Let me see, let me just run this test. Something is happening, don't worry. And as you can see, it failed. Well, obviously because it threw an exception. So we could actually now go and make this test pass. So again, they would want you to do it just take steps and kind of implement one requirement at a time. So anybody off the top of their head could just chime in and tell me what to write in the test method. So thanks everybody, not all at once, don't rush. Okay, great. So what is a palindrome? As we said, it is just ensuring that the word is the same backwards and forwards. So for me to test that, I would simply yeah.
This is to confirm the word as a palindrome, right?
Yes.
So I saw in Keisha's segment, she had simply said done a reverse of word and do equals comparison as one way of confirming a word as a palindrome. There are conditions it would fail for, but it's a good start if you wanted to start.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, by the way, do you have some of those conditions at the fore of your mind?
Keisha probably could help me. I know if it includes punctuations, it's still a palindrome. Maybe we could say case doesn't matter.
So what I'm doing now is
anybody could think of anything I'm missing.
So and probably spaces. I think that's what she did as well.
Single letter.
Yeah, space.
Empty string.
Okay.
Every string is actually a word instead of like www.
Now we are going there, you know. That's sure, but that will take us out in a different way. But the containing spaces are empty string, yes, we can all look at those things. So what I'm doing is essentially anytime I think about use cases for my code, I tend to write them down because I have a terrible memory and I would forget. So I just essentially put them down as comments in my test, and essentially I will turn them into test methods afterwards. All right. Well, I just noticed that we named this test method 1, so I'm just gonna give it some name so that is meaningful. We have a convention that I use, which would normally be, I feel like the testing confusing since we doing tests and anything test, so I'm just gonna call it is palindrome instead. And I'm gonna call it the convention.
For the sake of studio audience, it's pretty cool how you simply change the name there.
Yeah.
And of course, your tool, which is Visual Studio, got it to update the method.
Yeah.
The method name in the actual class.
Yeah.
In case someone is watching and thinking, well, how he designed it will just so.
Yeah, it did. So Visual Studio has a lot of good refactoring tools, and this is definitely one of them. So you could have actually renamed it or generated a new method, I believe. So as I was saying, one more. Yeah, as I was saying, the convention I normally use would be the method on the test, and the behavior that is expected, and given a particular scenario or given different specific parameters. So I would say is palindrome returns true. Something like that. So it could probably come up with a better name. I use underscores and common letters just so it's a little easier to read when you actually have a lots of tests in your test window. So you can actually see what test is failing fairly quickly instead of having to parse camel case or whatever. Great. So everybody follow me so far? Any questions? Okay. So as Erwin was suggesting, sorry, somebody was saying something? Okay. So as Erwin was suggesting, we can't simply reverse the string and and actually just test the quality of the word versus the reverse string. So because again we're using Visual Studio and we're using .NET, they have a lot of libraries available. One wonderful library is system.link, which would provide a method for me to do the reverse. So I don't have to write a for loop and actually reverse the string. So I don't know if this makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Word that reverse. It returns a list of characters. So I'm gonna just do again .NET. It's awesome. I do a string.join. Separator will be empty string, and yeah, so maybe that should work. So I can come to my test explorer on the left hand side here, and I can simply say run test. Since we only have one, boom, we have green. That was unexpected. Great. So we actually just conducted our first TDD test. We actually wrote the code first. We arranged everything with the data that we needed. We acted on the method on the test, and then we asserted the whether the result was what we expected. So we can go on to then now implement these other test cases. So I think next one I'll do is case doesn't matter. Again, so using VS, this is code snippets. You can just type test M and you will be able to generate the test method code. So I'll say returns true for anybody want to give a name for this test? This is a case. Okay. So actually, just gonna take the same code that I have. Since we already know the anatomy of a unit test, which is we arrange after an assert, I'm just gonna take off these comments so it wouldn't be as chatty. So ignoring case. So if I capitalize wow and I run my tests, they should fail. And so this is all in the red-green refactor lifecycle of TDD. As you can see, ASBandle returns true for words with mixed case fails because, well, we don't handle the case. So a simple thing to do to ignore case would be convert everything to the same case. And again, .NET provides us with wonderful libraries to do so. So if we turn only the word to lowercase, we should now be able to match against mixed case. So again, I'm going to run my test, and we have all greens. And I just want to say the greens make me feel pretty good. So any questions so far? We going okay? Anybody want to? So I think it has some palindromes with spaces. I'm going to Google for that.
It's me.
I saw Joe sent a really nice one.
Oh, sorry.
It's was it a rat I saw?
Yeah. Is that it?
Smooth.
Yeah.
What if I didn't
Yeah,
want
that's
to create the palindrome object every time I ran the tests?
Why would you even do that? That's crazy. Okay, no problem. So let's think about this. So obviously at times we have commonality around some of the tests. So yes, this might be tedious to create a palindrome object all the time. There are facilities for that. So I think it is test initialize. I can't remember at this moment. I think this is it. I'm not sure. So this code will actually get run every time you run an individual test. So what we could do, we could also just new up the palindrome class here, but if we needed to do some setup every time, we could do that here. Okay, the palindrome. So yeah, we have the test initialized. So let's just remove all these and hope they break. And then we'll tell Akash to fix it because he asked it.
So you have to remove it completely.
Sorry?
You had to remove the pal.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thanks. So we just want to run our tests. And luckily it did not break. So it have a test initialized. I believe that there's also a test cleanup attribute. Yeah, test cleanup. So essentially, once you decorate your method with either of these attributes, this code will run after each run of each test. So let's get rid of this test cleanup. Thanks Akash for that. So but also we need to be careful that while we're doing unit testing, we need to ensure that unit tests can be run on their own and they don't require other tests to work. So in this case, what we're doing, we simply new up an object, but there would be other times where people may have one test run and it changes state of some value and then have other tests rely on that. That's a bad idea. Each test will be able to run on their own stand up by themselves. Yeah. So was it a rat I saw? I feel like it need a question mark in there. So we could do, let me see if I see another one on the internet. Anybody have any other one? Anything else? That with spaces in it? Well,
Step on no pets.
boom. Okay. Step on no pets, right? We'll get there. So I'll say is palindrome true. All right. And I get back here. So Keisha was like, say, step on no pets. Okay.
Anand,
So yeah, bro.
to confirm, test initialize runs every time a test is executed, right? As in, just confirming isn't when the test class is created, it's before each test is run. And so someone might ask the question, why have test initialize if you have a class constructor? And it could literally be, we may have been doing the palindrome differently, such that you made the palindrome, the word that you're testing, a part of the palindrome. For example, you pass that into the palindrome's constructor. And so you may want that every time you run the test, the palindromes, you make sure it changes.
Okay.
So it's one of those examples of why have a test initialize as opposed to have simply a palindrome test constructor to do the initialization.
Right. So again, it have there are other attributes as well. I think there's a class initialize and a class cleanup. So those things would run only once, similar to a constructor or destructor, I guess. But test initialize and test cleanup all run. They all run before and after each test is run. And I guess the point is that you essentially are running the test in isolation. That you're setting up data to be used by every test, but is not data that has been modified. So if, for example, the first test that was run is this, and we change the state of the palindrome object, when we run the other tests, the state will actually not be changed because we actually created a new palindrome object at this time. Yeah. Okay. So where we at? We stepping on no pets. So again, let's just run our test. So another tenet of TDD is that you run all the tests all the time. So it's not like we're gonna run is that so that it so happened to have the same spaces. That's magical. So this is terrible and terrifying, and it just goes to show that we need a lot of test data to to ensure that we're not providing false positives. So I guess we will use let me see if I can find another one on the internet. Anybody else have any other palindromes? Like with a random space?
Hey, I find one. I look on the internet. Too hot to hoot.
Too hot to what?
Hoot.
Hoot?
Like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Like Hootie and the Blowfish. Good job. Is that right?
I don't know if any of the viewers would know who that is, but find out. Don't take them on top.
Yeah, Owen, is this right?
Yeah, that looks like
That's
it.
Okay. So I mean, great, it failed. So this is interesting. We need to ensure that somehow we do leave out that wonderful case. I'm gonna say. Okay, so we too hot to hoot. And again, what is this problem? Is it has more spaces. Great. Anybody on the call want to tell me what to do here? We need to remove spaces. Well, remove spaces. Ideas?
I'm just here to ask if you can make the code pretty on our way.
Okay, no problem. I will. And how do you define prettier? So what I was going to do is I was going to just create some local variables here. So I'm going to do this here. And this here. I don't want to, didn't give me what I wanted. Man. Does that help, Owen?
I messing with brackets.
I mean, it coming to come, you know.
If I do this, it looks cooler.
It does.
Okay. So yeah, anybody about the removing the spaces? Well, gee, thanks, guys. So, again, .NET to the rescue. You have this wonderful method called string.replace, and you can essentially say, replace characters found in that string with the particular character. So we're looking for the space character, and we're going to replace it with an empty string. I guess we have to do the same for the word. So let's make this look pretty for Owen. That looks terrible to me, but whatever.
I mean, ideally, you wouldn't perform the operations on word variable.
Sorry?
But it doesn't matter because things are immutable.
Unfortunately. So here we go.
Somebody's asking for a regex, Anand.
They're asking for regex. Well, this string that replace actually takes a regex. So we could provide a regex. If you're asking for it, you need to provide it. That's just how it works. So Nicholas, if you know, wait. Damn, Rachel. It's /s you'd need to provide. So okay, we're gonna go with Rachel's regex.replace.
We just making it hard for Spite, or we
Yep, that's because Rachel wanted us to.
Noted.
Okay, yeah. Register replace, and we need to provide a pattern. So I think /s is that set pattern, or it's just s, Rachel. All right, great. We will test it and see. And we want to replace it with nothing.
I mean, also, this makes it hard to debug if you do everything in the return statement, but, you know, am I being pedantic now?
Yeah, a little bit. All right. So we use the replace method, and then we use the regex.replace, which I think this string.replace probably uses this regex.replace. But this one is for Rachel. Okay, great. So I'll test pass again. So what we actually just demonstrated was us refactoring our code, and using our unit tests as guardrails to ensure that we didn't break anything or we didn't have any regressions in our code. And obviously that's one of the benefits of unit tests in general. Yeah, that was fun. I think we could do one more, which is the include punctuation. So I guess we may have to do a
The
regex with it.
best one.
And I mean, somebody need to provide me with a regex to find punctuation, or to negate punctuation, whoever that is. All right, so I'll just set up the test method while people doing that or something.
Check in the chat.
Nice. All right, Keisha provided
Keisha
it
done
for us.
swing back fair. Although, I mean, to be honest, when I thought about it at first, right, and this is probably because of a wrong, horrible fear of regexes, I literally thought I would prefer to go through each character and compare the character codes to ASCII by, you know, Just
Feel
when
like we
everybody
don't
else
have
thinking,
we don't
I'm
have time
afraid
for
of
that.
regex.
We don't have time for that.
We don't. We don't regex is for the win.
Regexes are great. So let's return true for words with and it saves us a lot of work and a lot of follow-ups.
Just for the sake of those who seen it. Just change the spelling of punctuation.
Remember, at the beginning of the talk, I said I'm not going to spell it correct. I appreciate that.
Fair enough.
Is that better? I hope.
That looks good.
Okay. So we're just gonna use this guy. Hopefully it fails. So let's run our test. So again, remember red, green refactor, right? That's our process for TDD. Boom. So the test that fail. All right, great. So somebody provided me a wonderful regex. So could you provide me the regex with no punctuation and no spaces in the one regex? Okay. I'm not sure what EKG referring to. If you want to take it, let me know.
It was just the win was gonna compare each character, right?
Oh, good job. Okay. Yeah.
I just got a headache, thinking about it.
Okay. We did it again, guys. I think this will actually work. I just did this. Again, so we could probably convert a regex that does. Oh, that's not the correct regex. Okay, maybe this will work. We don't know. Let's run it. Boom, it doesn't work. That's wonderful. Okay. So now we get to do some debugging and having our unit tests identify our failures in code. So but before I do that, we can actually show you another assertion we could make. So let me just go here. So instead of I was gonna do another thing, but I think I'll pass on that. I wanted to show that you could assert what you expect versus what you actually get. So I could do that for fun, but another time. So head over to my method. Put a breakpoint. I can come to my test window and say to debug the selected test only. On me here. So you can see what or no punctuation, guys. And for some reason, for some reason the original still contains the question mark. So I guess I'll do exactly what I did. Excuse me. What I did with the reversed word, and we can move from there. So
Just a slight reminder, it's 2:30.
sorry?
So just a slight reminder, it's 2:30.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. So did that. I can actually, let me debug again because I scared my code didn't work. And I'm going to look at what no punctuation is. And then, well, original. Well, good job. Thanks for the help, guys. I didn't change it. So we could see that, well, original with no punctuation is actually the same. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. I take off my breakpoint because trust in the code. And again, we have all greens, and that makes me feel really good. So unfortunately, Keisha just jumped in and told me that I don't have any time left. So what things we missing? Well, we're missing probably some defensive code, like, well, if we get empty string, what happens? Or null string. We actually didn't even check for words that are actually not palindromes. So we don't have test cases for not palindromes. I think let's just do that really quickly. So let's make sure that all this thing that we was doing all this time wasn't in vain. So I think that'll just be the last thing that I do. So any questions while we kind of wrap up? So I'm just going to say it returns false for all right. So some other pal word, and the assertion that we expect is we need to assert that this should return false. So again, the framework provides us a lot of assert methods. So instead of assert true, we assert false is false. And let's now run our tests. So again, we're running all our tests to ensure that we don't break any other code. And again, we have all greens. So I guess that's it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go very far, and Keisha probably covered a lot of this stuff as well. But that is our introduction to TDD. I could say one thing, though you might feel there's a lot of ceremony, when you actually get to do it, from especially in a new project, it is it have a interesting feeling when you actually have all these green check marks. You actually feel pretty good about your code and your day, and you'll be happier generally. So that's it for me. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Well, that's it, guys. Go ahead and take it out.
Thanks a lot, Anand. This has been an edition of Teleios Power Hour. Boom, 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 boom.